Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cindy.
And we are here with a new study for Feeding Frenzy. And this is The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwene Gaines.
A simple guide to unlimited abundance. Yeah. I could handle some of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm not sure how this one's going to go, but we're just going to start with the introduction. And we'll talk about Ed. She starts out by explaining what prosperity means to her. What is your definition of prosperity?
Prosperity to me is not only financial. It is an abundance in every avenue of my life. It is an abundance in the things that I enjoy, in the people that I meet, in my financial affairs. It's also an abundance in my relationships with family, my children, and but it's also an abundance in my relationship with God. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm sure I could put that more eloquently.
Right. I think for me, it's all of those things. But to make it as short as possible,
Too.
yeah. I think it's having all my wants and needs met almost immediately. Just having everything I want and need at my fingertips, pretty much. And that includes the relationships and the money and the health and anything I can imagine in an abundance. And I think a lot of that is perspective and perception rather than how much is really there. It's how I view that amount, or how I view that lavishness. So it's changed for me a lot over the years. When I first started following Edwene and read this book, it was all about the money. Because for me, if I wanted to go on a vacation, what held me back was the money. And what I've learned since then is that the last time we went on a large vacation, we had not enough money to go, but needed to go for a wedding. And we didn't need the money because people we knew let us stay at their house. And, we would get discounts or things would just happen where it was free or, it wasn't a matter of money.
Right.
It was a matter of just things landing in our lap, So my definition of prosperity has changed a little bit. And it's not as much about the money as it used to be.
Right.
She says that true prosperity is a vitally alive physical body to provide a comfortable worldly home for the spiritual beings that we are. Relationships that are satisfying, nurturing, honest, and work all the time. Work that we love so much that it's not work, it's play. And all the money we can spend. So that's her definition of prosperity. Okay, and then she talks about the 4 spiritual laws, which are, number 1 is tithing.
Excuse me, tithing.
Which is giving 10% of all that you receive to the person, place, or institution where you have received spiritual food. And I'm sure we will talk a lot about that one in the coming weeks or days. Number 2,
setting goals.
Clear-cut, tangible goals. And number 3,
forgiveness.
Forgive everyone all the time, especially
Don't make me say a name.
yourself.
I wasn't going to say myself. I've got more forgiveness work to do.
So you're not the one that popped into your brain.
No, I wasn't the one that popped into my head. I've got more work to do.
And number 4 is
getting on purpose.
Follow
Finding it out. What you were supposed to do.
Discover and follow
What to do.
Your divine purpose.
Get on purpose.
So those are the 4 spiritual laws that we will be talking about extensively in this study. She talks about her past and how she, spiritually, that she grew up and was raised and how she fell into where she is now. Obviously, she started out as a church-going child, which many of us did, and then she was converted to Catholicism, and then she ended up as a New Thought minister. And that was her path. How about you? What's your path in a nutshell?
Mine, in a nutshell, was I was not raised to have roots in anything. I basically was shuttled from different religions and beliefs.
Most of them were Christian.
Most of them were Christian, but they ranged the scale. between die hard and we'll follow every word of the Bible to we're living everything on faith here, and we don't follow any rules. So it went the gambit, and I literally just had to decide what was right for me.
But you weren't forced to believe something. I mean, you weren't.
No. My parents were not active goers.
Okay.
Now they had their own belief systems and would go occasionally, but it wasn't forced on me. I basically had to make up my own mind what I believed and what worked for me. And when I was younger, like early 20s, I would say I was probably. I really wished I'd had roots in something so that I could have fallen back on a deep faith. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But because I was just left to make up my own mind, I didn't have a deep faith in anything, you know. But it also caused me to look more inward than outward. So now that I'm older, I am thankful for that because I do turn inward rather than looking outward. So it was definitely different than the way she was raised. Now I was also raised in the same way that she was, that you're not good enough and nothing you ever do is good enough,
Right.
So I figured I didn't have a chance anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So I do have a deep faith, and I do have a deep belief, and I do have probably a closer relationship with God or my higher power or universe or spirit or however you want to describe it, than I've ever had in my entire life. And I am thankful now for that ability to just find my way.
Right.
How about you?
Mine was very similar to hers. I was raised in a very strict, every Sunday night, Wednesday night for 18 years. It was very strict. And then, like her, I went to college and realized, oh my gosh, it's not all about this fear that I've been growing up in. There's a party going on out here. And I decided I'd rather party because I could never be good enough. And I mean, those words were the exact words that came out of my mouth. I'm going to hell anyway. I might as well have fun doing it because I can't ever live up to those standards.
Right.
So I quit going, but I still knew that there was a higher power. And I just was really confused as to how that higher power fit into my life. And then when my children were born, that was when I made the conscious decision that I want them or I want to know what to teach them, basically. So I started going back to church. I wasn't quite as strict, but almost as. And started really, really studying the Bible. And it brought up a lot more questions than answers for me. It was like, okay, I'm being taught to believe this, but that's not what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And so anyway, eventually I asked so many questions that I was not getting the answers in that strict religious denomination. So I started looking for other alternatives and started doing a lot of reading and a lot of studying, and was led to the New Thought church. And it was like, oh my gosh, this resonates with what I know inside, even though I've never been taught this, I've never heard this. It just felt right, and so since then my path has been just growing and learning and studying a lot of all the religions, and I don't belong to any specific New Thought, but I really enjoy studying the New Thought stuff. So that's pretty much mine. I'm like to think I'm really open-minded and I won't count anything out. But I like the way she says, these are spiritual laws. And it doesn't matter what denomination you are. Or, the Bible says God is no respecter of persons. And I think the laws are that way too, the physical laws. Gravity doesn't care who you are.
Right.
And it doesn't care, if you believe it or not. Right. It's just going to happen. It's a law. It can't not happen.
Right.
So I think these spiritual laws are the same way. It doesn't matter what your religion is.
No,
whether you believe this or not.
It doesn't matter.
Faith is faith. And if you have enough faith, then these things
and
will happen.
The whole point being, it doesn't matter how you came upon your faith.
Right.
It's the fact that you have it.
Right. Exactly.
And we all do.
Right.
We all do. We all have some sort of relationship with a higher power. It's rather, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious of it.
Right.
I, too, was raised in fear in order to fear that higher power.
Right.
And I have since learned a loving relationship rather than a fear-based one.
Right. And I think of it more, well, I have a lot of different feelings for God, but if I think of it as a law, then it helps me to say, okay, I can either work with the law or work against it. Knowing about the law of gravity helps me because I know how to work with it. Knowing about the law of electricity helps me, so that I can work with it. And I know if I turn that switch on, it's going to come. The light's going to come on. You know.
Yes.
So knowing how these laws work helps because I can work with them and be more successful. So I truly believe that it has nothing to do with what religion or what faith or what you believe.
Because it doesn't matter what you believe. You can work with it and it works.
Right.
Or, you can believe in a higher power and it works, or you can not believe in one and it works. As long as you're working with the law.
Right.
So the point being that we do some things out of our own belief systems. And so that's going to be a part of it anyway, because, anytime you're talking about something that is spiritual, then you've got to get into what you believe and what you don't.
Right.
So the point of this being, take what works, leave what doesn't.
Right, exactly. You got to make it work for you. Just like we were talking about, we don't all fit into one nice little mold. We're all different people.
Exactly.
And we have to take what works for us and what doesn't.
Right.
However, I do believe in these 4 spiritual laws.
I do too.
And I believe that the more I practice them, the better things go for me. So let's just sort of at the beginning of this take stock of where we are.
Yeah.
How do you feel when it comes to, I was looking for the 4th area there, your tithing? How are you doing on that one? What would you rate yourself?
Totally in integrity with tithing. I have made that a practice for quite a while now. It's become almost second nature.
Good.
That goes out first.
So you are a tither?
I am a tither.
And you have been for
how long? I have been for, I would say, the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay. And it works for you?
Oh, it absolutely works for me. And I can see that when I put the energy out, the energy comes back.
Right.
Regardless of my belief system, I can see that once I put it out there, it absolutely comes back.
Right. Right.
So.
I am too, and I have been for many years, off and on. I have been for several years consistently. And I was consistently years ago, and then I got out of the habit, and so I've gone off and on. But it's, and I'm sure we'll get into it more when we start talking more about tithing, but I have lots of stories. It's amazing.
It works for me when I do it, and it works against me when I don't.
Exactly.
And I have seen that.
And I can tell you by looking at my checkbook when I was and when I wasn't. What about number 2, setting clear-cut, tangible goals? How do you do on that one?
I skate on that one. I really do. I really do. I need to work on that one more.
Yeah.
And it's more clear-cut.
Right.
I can set a goal and leave it vague.
Right. And what I really think we need more work on is putting deadlines on them, because a goal without a deadline is a wish. We need to have clear-cut, saying this is specifically what we want by this amount of time.
Yeah.
We can always change that date,
right?
But we need to put a date on it, because we'll be more likely to do it or get it by then. What about forgiveness? How are you doing on that one?
That is a work in progress. It's absolutely a work in progress, and it's gotten better. I've put more effort into it.
Right.
With these studies.
Right.
And
especially that last one, the Course in Weight Loss. That was a biggie on forgiveness.
Yes.
And I think you did a lot of good work on that.
I did.
I, on the other hand, I don't have as much problem with forgiveness. I don't think. You may tell me different.
Well, like when you brought it up a minute ago, I wasn't the first one to pop in my head. So I realized then, okay, let's do have more work to do.
Yeah. I do pretty good with forgiveness, I think. I let things go fairly easily.
Yeah, you do.
Don't hold a lot of grudges. And I just make a decision to get over it and be done with it and let it go. And so anyway, I've done a lot of work in the past, though. But I didn't just start.
Well, you did some good work during
I did
this
some
last
work.
study, too.
Yes, I did. And it's a daily thing. I have to do it every day. But it doesn't take me a long time to get through it. Yes. But I've been working on forgiveness for years. So it's not like I just was born that way.
Right.
You know? Right. What about divine purpose? Finding and being on
I
purpose.
think I'm well on my way.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Mm-hmm. So you know what your divine purpose is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
I do. What about you?
Yes, I see it a little more clearly every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm much more on my way than I was, 10 years ago.
So how do you know when you're on your way?
For me, it's a feeling. It's a knowing, and things work. Things start falling into place.
Mm-hmm.
Things feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rewarded because of the way I'm helping people.
Are you excited to get to it?
Yeah, I'm excited to get to it. I have an enthusiasm that's a natural enthusiasm. I don't have to pump myself up to do it. I can't wait to get up in the mornings to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's forced and I have to make myself, then I know, okay, this is not it.
Yeah.
I'm making this happen.
Yeah.
And it's not, when I feel like when we're on divine purpose, it's not me doing it. It's God doing it. Or something inside of me that comes out to do it,
Yeah.
So I can just feel it. I know when I'm on the right track and I know when I'm off.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things I think are the part of it, and I'll start them and they just don't feel right.
Yeah.
It's the best way to explain it. All right, so are you excited?
I am excited.
This is going to
I
be
am
good one,
excited.
isn't it?
This is a really good one.
Yeah.
Well, it's a life changer for me.
Oh, yeah.
I know it
Me
must be you too.
Well, so much so that we both have been visiting Edwene about once a month for a couple of years now.
A couple of years, yeah.
Yeah. So
She's an excellent teacher.
I'm anxious to jump into part 1. It's on tithing. So we get to jump right into the whole
Let's
tithing
just jump
thing,
right
which
into
is
the
a
bucket.
controversial thing.
It is, but you know what? It's probably the practice that changes things quickest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Even faster than setting the goals and everything else. So it changes things quickly.
Yeah.
And it can tank things too.
Yeah.
When I get off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about it.
Me too. I can't wait to jump into that one.
Yeah.
So,
This is good stuff.
it's really good stuff.
Dream.